The cold silence of the stasis chamber wrapped around Captain Aaron Vale as he drifted deeper into unconsciousness. The last thing he remembered was the roar of alarms, the blinding lights of the evacuation corridors, and the frantic shouts of his crew as the star system around them collapsed. Their planet, once a jewel in the galaxy, was now a dying sun, devouring everything nearby. They had little time. Only the fastest ship could carry the crew to safety. Aaron had volunteered for stasis, trusting the technology that promised survival. The machine hummed softly as it sealed him in, and then darkness took him. When he opened his eyes, he did not see the blinding light of emergency sirens or the chaos of battle. Instead, he was greeted by a soft blue glow that seemed to come from the very walls of the chamber. Blinking rapidly, he tried to move, but his muscles felt stiff, as if years of sleep had wrapped him in iron. The air was clean, almost sterile, and there was no smell of burning or metal. The chamber itself had changed. It was sleek, polished, and completely unlike the one he remembered entering. The panel next to him lit up with a gentle chime. Words appeared in a language that was almost familiar, yet different. Then, to his surprise, the display translated automatically. Captain Aaron Vale. Duration of stasis, 15,000 years. Ship operational. 15,000 years. The number echoed in his mind, refusing to make sense. 15,000 years. Humanity, his home, his crew, the people he had fought for could not have survived that long without him noticing. And yet, the ship was alive, humming with energy, its systems active and monitoring everything. He struggled to rise, his body trembling, but he managed to push himself out of the chamber. The corridors of the ship stretched out in every direction, perfectly clean, without a single sign of the hurried evacuation he remembered. Yet the walls were different. Strange markings, symbols he had never seen, decorated every panel. They were not human. And yet, there was something about them that felt respectful, almost reverent. He walked cautiously, calling out for the crew. "This is Captain Vale. Are there any humans aboard?" His voice sounded odd in the quiet halls, echoing slightly. There was no answer. Panic began to creep in, cold and sharp. He ran to the communication console on the bridge, desperate to find life. The interface glowed, and he saw the familiar holographic layout of the starship's bridge, but altered, upgraded. Data scrolled across the screens, much faster than any human operator could process. The AI's voice, smooth and neutral, spoke directly into his mind. "Captain Aaron Vale, you have awoken after 15,000 years of stasis. Humans are no longer present in the starship's registry or in any known colonies. The Galactic Empire has claimed this vessel as a heritage starship. Your presence has been detected as anomalous." Aaron's mind struggled to grasp the meaning. Humanity was gone? How could it be gone? 15,000 years was a lifetime beyond measure. He remembered history, remembered the colonization, the wars, the expansion across the stars. Humanity had been strong, respected, feared in some regions, admired in others. Yet somehow, all of that had vanished. He pressed his hands to the console, almost shaking, searching for more information. The AI continued. Records indicate humans became legendary across multiple star systems. Their influence shaped political and technological growth for countless species. However, humans disappeared approximately 10,000 years ago. Current Galactic Empire populations regard humans as ancient founders. The vessel has been integrated into the Empire's fleet and designated as the heritage vessel of the Lost Masters. Aaron staggered backward. His fingers gripped the edge of the console, knuckles white. The words felt like ice in his veins. He had survived. But at what cost? Humanity, his people were gone. What had happened? How could an entire species vanish, leaving only their legend behind? His thoughts raced, circling the empty halls. He moved toward the windows, looking out into space. Stars glittered against the darkness. More than he remembered, nebulas stretched across regions he had never seen. Alien ships drifted in formation far below, moving with precision and purpose. They were different, yes, but efficient, almost reverent in their organization. And then it struck him. The ship he was on, the vessel he had called home, was no longer just human. It had been adopted, preserved, even revered by species he had never met. He turned back toward the bridge console, trying to access archives. The ship's records were vast, spanning thousands of pages of history. But almost all of it was written by non-human species. Each archive described humans as creators, inventors, warriors, and explorers. They were the ones who had taught other species how to build ships, navigate the stars, and cooperate for mutual survival. Humans were remembered with awe. Yet in every description, there was a sense of sadness, a longing, a question unanswered. Where are the humans now? Aaron's heart ached. He had expected some form of reunion, some trace of his people, even after centuries, but nothing remained. His hands shook as he opened one of the oldest records available, an account written by an alien historian known as Tallius of the Zaran species. Tallius described humans as masters of balance, skilled in war and diplomacy alike. He wrote about human colonies that had reached the far edges of the galaxy, planets that humans had nurtured and then moved on from. And yet, even he could not explain the disappearance. They were everywhere, Tallius wrote, and then nowhere. We remember their deeds, but the beings themselves are lost to us. Some say they transcended matter. Others say the galaxy claimed them as punishment or test. All we know is that when humans vanish, the universe changes with them. Aaron sank into a nearby chair, stunned. His own species, once so proud and dominant, now existed only in memory and myth. He remembered his crew, his friends, the people he had loved. Were they alive, lost, or gone like the rest? The AI's voice interrupted his thoughts. Captain Vale, external signals indicate approaching ships. They are halting near the Starship. Identification, multiple species. Intent, unknown. They are requesting immediate communication. Aaron stood and straightened himself, his mind suddenly alert. After 15,000 years of sleep, he had expected nothing but emptiness. Yet here, in front of him, were beings who wanted to talk. He moved to the communication console and activated a channel. Holographic forms appeared before him, tall, armored figures of various alien species, all looking toward him with an expression he could only describe as awe. They did not speak immediately. Instead, their leader stepped forward, a being of elegant features and deep blue skin. "Are you the human?" the being asked. Its voice was melodic, strange, and commanding. "The one who has returned?" Aaron blinked. I am Captain Aaron Vale. I was in stasis. I do not understand. Where are the humans? Are there others?" The alien bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "You do not understand. Humans, you are the last. You were expected, but not like this. Your awakening was foretold. The prophecy. It has begun." Aaron shook his head, trying to grasp what was happening. Prophecy? Foretold? He had always known humans were respected, but never imagined this. He studied the ships outside the window, seeing their advanced designs, their markings of different planets and cultures. They had formed a fleet, and all of them recognized him as important. "I am just a soldier. I do not rule. I do not command." "You underestimate your role," said another alien, a smaller creature with silver fur and glowing eyes. "Humans shaped the stars. Even now, after thousands of years, your presence carries authority. You are the beacon, the guide that will unite us against the darkness." Aaron's mind raced. Darkness? He had survived a dying star system, but what could this mean? He looked out into space, his eyes falling on the distant edge of the galaxy. Something moved there, strange, unlike any ship he had ever seen. The fleet seemed tense. The larger alien stepped closer. "The hollow swarm," it said in a low, trembling voice. "It threatens all that we have built. Only the human can guide us." Only you can lead the unity that will stand against it. Aaron's stomach turned. He had never imagined himself in such a position. A soldier, a captain, yes, but a savior of the galaxy? He shook his head, trying to reject the notion. But even as he did, he felt a strange resonance in the ship. As if it recognized him, the vessel itself seemed to hum in anticipation, lights pulsing softly in harmony with his heartbeat. Somehow, after 15,000 years, he was home, and yet, the home he returned to was alien, both in structure and in circumstance. As the aliens waited for him to speak, Aaron realized that sleep had not made him weak. He had knowledge, experience, and skill that even these advanced species respected. And if prophecy was to be believed, the galaxy needed humans once again, even if only through him. He took a deep breath and looked at the stars stretching infinitely outside the bridge. For 15,000 years, humanity had been gone. Their legacy preserved but their presence erased. And now, here he was, alone but not entirely powerless. The ship, the fleet, and perhaps the future of countless species depended on him. A spark of determination lit in his chest. "I don't know why I am here," he said, his voice steady, "or what I am supposed to do. But if you need guidance, then I will help. Together, we will face this threat, whatever it may be." The aliens nodded, relief and awe clear on their faces. The blue-skinned leader bowed again. "Then, let the return of the human begin. The galaxy remembers, Captain Vale, and it has waited for you." Aaron looked once more at the stars, feeling both fear and resolve. He was alone in a galaxy that had moved on without his species. But he was awake. Humanity's legacy lived on in him, and whatever challenges awaited, he would meet them not as a ruler, but as a captain, a soldier, and perhaps the last human, capable of inspiring hope across the stars. The bridge lights pulsed softly as the alien fleet formed a protective perimeter. Aaron's fingers brushed over the console, testing the ship's systems. Everything was operational, advanced beyond what he had known, yet responsive to him in ways that suggested loyalty, almost instinctively. For the first time since awakening, a sense of purpose began to replace the terror of emptiness. He did not know the full scale of the danger, the nature of the hollow swarm, or how humanity had disappeared. But he knew one thing. He had awoken for a reason, and he would face the future as the galaxy's unexpected protector. And as the stars stretched endlessly before him, Aaron Vale, captain and last human, prepared to step into a universe that had long forgotten his people and discover what it truly meant to be human in a galaxy that still whispered their name. Aaron Vale could hardly sleep. Even if sleep were still possible after 15,000 years of stasis, he spent the first cycles walking the corridors of the starship, running his hands along the polished walls and studying the strange symbols that now decorated the vessel. Each panel, each screen, seemed alive, as if the ship remembered the humans who had built it. Aaron felt a strange connection, not just to the technology, but to the history that it represented. Though his species had vanished, the vessel carried their essence, their memory, and, strangely, their authority. He spent hours in the archives, scrolling through records kept by alien historians. Every page told the same story. Humans were exceptional, not merely in strength or skill, but in the ability to inspire unity and progress. Colonies built by humans had flourished into vibrant societies. Systems that were once war-torn had prospered under guidance humans had never asked for, and species that had once fought one another had found peace through human diplomacy. The writings made Aaron proud and, at the same time, heavy with guilt. How could his people vanish while leaving behind such a legacy? Where had they gone? He found records from a species called the Zeren, who had been among the first to join the human-led coalition. The historian Tallius described humans as the architects of balance. Their wars were swift, their diplomacy brilliant, and their technology unparalleled. "They taught us how to dream beyond the stars," one entry read. Another account detailed human ships, arriving in the far reaches of the galaxy, bringing water to dying worlds, planting life on barren planets, and negotiating peace between warring factions. But each record also ended in the same sorrowful note. Humans disappeared. There were no survivors, no colonies that could confirm their presence after 10,000 years. It was as if the species had stepped out of the universe itself. As Aaron absorbed these stories, the ship's AI gently spoke. Captain Vale, alien vessels continue to monitor your status. They have requested your presence in the central conference chamber. They await your guidance regarding the threat known as the Hollow Swarm. Aaron nodded, straightening his uniform. He had spent hours studying maps, fleet reports, and historical data. The Hollow Swarm was unlike any force he had faced before. According to the AI, it was a nomadic, predatory phenomenon that consumed both matter and energy. It had destroyed systems in the past, and the current Galactic Empire feared it above all else. But Aaron noticed something in the data, something the AI had not yet emphasized. The Hollow Swarm moved in patterns that could be anticipated. Patterns that suggested intelligence, or at least a force of nature that responded to logic. If he could understand it, perhaps it could be stopped. The conference chamber was unlike any human council room he remembered. Tall ceilings, alien designs, holographic displays hovering in the air, and delegates from dozens of species filled the space. When Aaron entered, the room fell silent. All eyes were on him. He had not realized just how revered humans had become. Even in their absence, the very memory of his species commanded attention. The blue-skinned leader from the fleet stepped forward, his long fingers steepled. Captain Vale, your presence inspires hope. The swarm has begun moving toward our frontier systems. We need guidance to defend the colonies and coordinate our fleets. Aaron looked at the faces surrounding him. They were all alien, each different in appearance, language, and physiology. Yet they shared one expression, a combination of fear and expectation. I am no ruler, he began carefully. I am a soldier, a captain. I can advise, but the strength must come from all of you. Together. An older alien, with silver fur and glowing eyes, leaned forward. Captain, it is not just guidance we need. We require your strategy. Humanity's methods have always been unmatched in war and diplomacy. We trust in you, not because you are human alone, but because humans built the principles we still follow. Aaron took a deep breath. He had survived battles before, but never like this. The weight of responsibility was almost paralyzing, yet he knew fear would not serve him now. He turned toward the holographic display and activated a three-dimensional map of the swarm's movements. Stars lit up as the fleet's ships hovered around critical points, preparing for defense. The swarm attacks in waves, he said, tracing patterns with his fingers. It moves predictably, but it adapts. We cannot match it with brute force alone. We need to anticipate, divide its attention, and protect our key systems. Each species must focus on what they do best. We will not fight it as separate fleets. We will fight it as one. The room was silent for a moment, the aliens absorbing his words. Then murmurs spread, a mix of concern and hope. One by one, leaders began to contribute their own knowledge of the swarm, and Aaron wove their insights into a single plan. It was an alliance unlike any he had seen. Dozens of species, each with unique abilities, coming together under a strategy built on cooperation, not conquest. After the meeting, Aaron walked through the corridors of the Starship, thinking. He had learned much about the Empire, its history, and the reverence for humans, but there were still mysteries. Why had humans disappeared? Was the prophecy the aliens spoke of something his species had foreseen? And most importantly, could he stop the swarm and preserve the civilizations that had grown in humanity's absence? His thoughts were interrupted by a message from the ship's AI. Captain Vale, a secure file has been detected in the ship's core. It is a recording from your era, made by humans before their disappearance. It is addressed to any future human who may awaken. Aaron felt a chill. A message from humans, left for him specifically, after thousands of years. He made his way to the central chamber that housed the ship's core. a circular room filled with softly glowing consoles and energy conduits. When he accessed the file, a holographic projection appeared. The figure was unmistakably human, an officer in uniform he recognized from historical records. "Captain Vale," the figure said, voice calm but firm. "If you are seeing this, it means humanity has vanished. But our legacy remains. We faced threats across the galaxy that no single species could endure. We created safeguards, alliances, and knowledge repositories to guide those who followed us. The Hollow Swarm is one such threat. We sealed it. But over millennia, the seal weakened. You, awakened after our absence, have the responsibility to renew what we started. Trust in your instincts, trust in your humanity, and unite the galaxy once more." Aaron's hands trembled. The words were both comforting and terrifying. They confirmed the presence of the swarm and tied him directly to a duty he had not asked for. But he felt a surge of purpose. Humanity had vanished, but their foresight and planning had not. Their legacy was now his to carry forward. He spent the following cycles preparing for his first engagement with the swarm. The alien fleet adapted quickly to his strategies, and Aaron found himself teaching them tactics that had been standard for human forces millennia ago. He demonstrated formations, feints, and coordinated attacks. Slowly, the aliens began to trust not just his leadership, but the way his mind approached problems. They began to see what humans had seen all along. Unity, timing, and precision could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. During the simulations, Aaron noticed something remarkable. The ship itself seemed to respond to him differently than to any other being. Controls anticipated his touch, weapons systems calibrated automatically, and navigation paths aligned perfectly with his instincts. It was as if the vessel recognized him as a human, as one of its original masters. The realization filled him with awe. He was not just a survivor. He was connected to the very technology his people had built. The first reports from frontier systems were grim. The swarm had consumed entire colonies, leaving nothing behind. But Aaron's strategy began to show promise. By predicting the swarm's movement and directing the alien fleets to key choke points, they slowed its advance. Aaron's reputation grew quickly, and alien media across the Empire began calling him the Return of Humanity. He did not seek the title, but he could not ignore it. Every broadcast reminded him of what had been lost and what now depended on him. At night, Aaron wandered the ship alone, staring out at the stars. He wondered if any humans remained in hiding, somewhere in the vast galaxy. Perhaps some had evolved beyond recognition, or perhaps they had transcended into a form he could not comprehend. The idea both comforted and haunted him. Humanity's disappearance was a puzzle he could not yet solve, but he also realized that he could not dwell on what was lost. His duty was clear. Protect the galaxy, guide its inhabitants, and confront the swarm before it destroyed everything. Days later, as the fleet prepared to move toward the swarm's known location, Aaron stood on the bridge, looking at the assembled alien commanders. They were nervous, eager, and ready to follow him. He addressed them in a voice both firm and steady. "We face a threat unlike any before. The swarm will test our strength, our courage, and our unity. But we will stand together. Each of you has a role to play. Remember, we do not fight as separate species, but as one galaxy united. Follow my lead, and we will endure." The leaders nodded, their eyes shining with determination. They trusted him because humanity had taught the galaxy trust, and he would not fail them. The starship surged forward, engines glowing as it left the calm of deep space and moved toward the edge of the frontier. The first encounter with the swarm was imminent. Aaron felt the familiar tension of a soldier readying for battle, tempered by the knowledge that this fight was bigger than any he had faced before. It was not just a battle for survival, it was the chance to honor humanity's legacy, to ensure the galaxy remembered its creators, and to prove that even after millennia, the spirit of humans could endure. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Aaron thought of the message from his predecessors. Trust in your instincts. Trust in your humanity. He did not fully understand what the swarm was capable of, nor how it had returned after so long. But one thing was certain. He had awakened at the right moment, and the galaxy, which had long since moved on without his species, would soon see what it meant when a human chose to stand again. The alien fleet followed in perfect formation, their weapons systems primed and their sensors alert. Aaron adjusted the starship's course, following the patterns he had deduced from centuries of records. Somewhere out there, in the cold expanse of space, the hollow swarm waited. It was massive, alien, relentless. But he was ready. Humanity's legacy was alive in him, and he would not let it die. The alien fleet followed the course that Aaron had plotted, moving in perfect synchronization across the vast emptiness of space. Stars stretched endlessly around them, distant suns shimmering like sparks against the black canvas of the galaxy. Aaron stood on the bridge of the heritage vessel, feeling the hum of the engines beneath him, feeling the pulse of the ship as if it recognized him. He had spent centuries technically 15,000 years sleeping, yet now he was awake at the perfect moment to guide the galaxy. The burden of responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders, but it also fueled him with determination. Humanity's legacy was in his hands, and he would not let it fail. Reports came in from the fleet's scouts. Strange patterns of light and energy were approaching. The hollow swarm had been sighted in multiple locations simultaneously. Ships that had ventured too close were already being consumed. The swarm moved with eerie precision, forming shapes and clusters that suggested some form of collective intelligence, or at least a natural instinct that rivaled thought. Aaron studied the readings carefully. Unlike anything he had seen before, the swarm adapted, reorganized, and redirected energy with remarkable speed. It was not a mindless predator. It was a force of nature that had learned to think. He turned to the fleet commanders, who looked to him for guidance. Their eyes, wide with both fear and trust, reminded him why humans had once been revered. He took a deep breath and spoke. The swarm moves in patterns. It is not random. We can predict its waves if we focus on its energy signatures and coordinate our attack. We will not rely on sheer firepower. We will divide, distract, and contain it. Each species must use their strengths to create a chain of defenses. Follow my lead, and do not break formation. The fleet responded instantly, adjusting formations with precision. Aaron had chosen a three-tiered defense. The outermost ships would act as lures, drawing the swarm into regions where the main fleet could trap it. The second layer would contain and disrupt its energy flow, while the central fleet, led by the heritage vessel, would deliver concentrated attacks at critical points. Aaron moved to the navigation console, plotting multiple contingencies. The ship responded as if it anticipated his intentions, systems aligning perfectly, weapons calibrating automatically. The first engagement began at the edge of a dense asteroid field, where the swarm was detected consuming a minor colony. Energy surges rippled across space as the creatures, or whatever they were, formed immense clusters, spinning and pulsing with destructive power. The alien fleet moved as one, lured by the decoy ships. Aaron's voice rang out through the command channels. Maintain formation. Focus on the energy disruptions. Concentrate fire at the nodes, not the outer mass. The initial clash was terrifying. Entire ships were consumed in moments, light flaring as the swarm absorbed their energy. The alien commanders began to hesitate, but Aaron's calm voice guided them. Do not panic. Stick to the plan. Aaron's strategies, rooted in human tactics from millennia ago, began to work. Feints, coordinated attacks, and precise timing forced the swarm into positions where the fleet could strike effectively. The first wave faltered, and the alien ships followed the plan, cutting off the swarm's escape routes. Aaron watched the holographic displays, adjusting coordinates in real time. Each command flowed naturally from his instincts, and the heritage vessel seemed to respond with a will of its own. Its systems pulsed, weapons and shields moving with uncanny precision. It was as if the ship remembered the humans who had built it, and now recognized its master once more. Hours passed like minutes. The swarm pushed back, shifting its clusters and energy streams, but Aaron was relentless. He guided the fleet, weaving human strategy with the unique capabilities of each alien species. One species emitted pulses that interfered with the swarm's energy absorption, while another deployed dense formations that trapped clusters within containment fields. Aaron coordinated these efforts with precise timing, ensuring that every move reinforced the others. Slowly, the swarm began to fracture, losing cohesion under the combined assault. Amid the chaos, Aaron received a distress signal from a nearby system. The swarm had bypassed the initial defenses and was consuming a civilian planet. Without hesitation, he redirected a squadron of faster ships to intercept it. The alien commanders looked to him with concern. "Captain, you cannot risk splitting the fleet," one said. "I can't let them destroy innocent lives," Aaron replied firmly. "We adapt. Humanity never hesitated to protect the weak. Neither will I." The squadron moved quickly, guided by his commands. The heritage vessel followed, engaging the swarm directly to distract it from the planet below. Massive energy tendrils surged toward the ship, but Aaron anticipated each movement. Maneuvering with precise calculations, the alien fleet held their lines, and together they created a funnel that drew the swarm away from the planet. Civilians were saved, and the first major victory against the swarm was secured. The alien commanders were stunned. Aaron's tactics had worked flawlessly, blending offense and defense, prediction and adaptation. They looked at him with new respect, seeing not just a human, but a master strategist whose instincts rivaled the finest minds of their civilizations. Aaron realized the truth. The galaxy had remembered humanity not just in legend, but in practice. The systems, the fleets, even the swarm itself, responded to the methods humans had perfected thousands of years ago. After the battle, Aaron retreated to the ship's observation deck. The stars were calm again, but he knew it was temporary. The swarm had been slowed, not destroyed. Energy readings indicated that more clusters were moving toward populated regions. He could not rest. He reviewed the battle logs, refining strategies, and planning for the next engagement. Every move, every adjustment, brought him closer to understanding the swarm's behavior. During this time, he also continued to study the archives. He learned that humans had prepared for exactly this kind of event. Before their disappearance, humans had built fail-safes across the galaxy, technology, alliances, and knowledge designed to survive, even if the species itself vanished. The swarm had once been contained by these methods, but over time, their effectiveness had waned. Humanity had anticipated that one day, a human might return to reactivate the defenses. Aaron realized that he was that human. His awakening was no accident. It was the culmination of thousands of years of preparation by his own species. As the fleet regrouped, Aaron began training alien pilots and commanders in human techniques. He demonstrated coordinated maneuvers, predictive strikes, and rapid communication methods that allowed them to operate as a single unit rather than a collection of independent forces. The aliens were quick learners, and under his guidance, their efficiency skyrocketed. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy had a leader who could unite disparate species with the vision of a human mind. Even as he trained and strategized, Aaron could not ignore his own feelings. The absence of his species weighed on him heavily. He wandered the empty corridors of the heritage vessel, touching the polished walls, remembering the humans who had once walked alongside him. The ship itself seemed to respond, lights pulsing softly, almost as if it recognized his sorrow and sought to comfort him. He knew he was alone, yet he felt the presence of humanity in every system, every program, and every record he studied. The legacy of his species was alive, and he was its steward. Days turned into cycles, and the fleet moved ever closer to the heart of the swarm's territory. Reports of destruction reached them constantly, and Aaron's resolve only hardened. He would not allow the galaxy to fall. He coordinated precise strikes against smaller clusters, weakening the swarm gradually. Each victory, however small, boosted the morale of the alien fleets. They began to call him the Human Commander, a symbol not just of strategy but of hope. Aaron accepted the title silently, knowing it was not for glory, but for the inspiration it provided. Finally, The fleet reached the core of the swarm's domain, a region of space thick with energy anomalies and strange, pulsating structures. The swarm reacted immediately, converging in massive formations, its energy fields flaring as if anticipating the attack. Aaron felt the tension in his chest but did not hesitate. "Form defensive perimeters," he commanded. "Distract, divide, and strike at the nodes. Remember everything we have learned." The battle that followed was unlike anything Aaron had ever experienced. Energy fields clashed, ships were engulfed, and the void itself seemed alive with the swarm's force. Yet every move of the fleet was calculated, precise, and coordinated. Aaron's instructions flowed through the fleet, and the aliens executed them flawlessly. Slowly, systematically, the swarm began to weaken, its clusters breaking apart under the combined assault. Hours passed, and exhaustion weighed on every commander, but Aaron remained focused. He guided the heritage vessel to the center of the battle, directly engaging the swarm's core. Energy tendrils lashed out, but he maneuvered with precision, exploiting the weaknesses he had deduced. The ship responded to him instinctively, weapons firing and shields adjusting without delay. Finally, with a concentrated strike, the core of the swarm fragmented, its energy dissipating across the void. Silence returned to space. The alien fleet hovered in awe, and Aaron allowed himself a moment to breathe. They had won, at least for now. The swarm was contained, its threat diminished, and the galaxy was safe once more. For the first time in thousands of years, humanity's legacy had been proven, not just in stories, but in action. Aaron had awakened not only to survive, but to lead, and in doing so, he had reminded the galaxy why humans were remembered, feared, and revered. Even as he surveyed the aftermath, Aaron knew the work was far from over. The swarm could return, and new threats would arise. But for now, he allowed himself a small measure of pride. Humanity's methods, their unity, and their wisdom had endured, and though the species had vanished, their influence remained, alive in him and the galaxy that had never forgotten. The galaxy was quiet now, but the silence was tense, heavy with anticipation. The hollow swarm had been contained, but it was not destroyed. Aaron Vale stood on the bridge of the heritage vessel, his eyes scanning the expanse of space ahead. Energy readings from the swarm's remnants flickered across the consoles. Still unpredictable, still dangerous. The alien fleet hovered around him, tense yet trusting, waiting for guidance. Aaron knew that the final confrontation was coming, and with it, answers to questions that had haunted him since awakening. He reviewed the ancient human archives once more. In the deepest, most secure records, he found references to the origins of the swarm. Humanity had once encountered it, many millennia ago, and had sealed it using a combination of advanced technology and coordinated strategy. But time had weakened the seal, and the swarm had returned. Humanity, having anticipated this, had left a contingency. A human would awaken to guide the galaxy through this crisis. That human was him. Aaron felt a weight in his chest. He was alone in the galaxy and his species. Yet the responsibility of an entire civilization rested on his shoulders. The alien commanders gathered on the bridge, their expressions a mix of awe, determination, and fear. "Captain Vale," said the blue-skinned leader, his voice steady despite the tension. "We have followed your strategy and survived. But what now? How do we end this threat once and for all?" Aaron's mind worked rapidly. He traced the energy flows of the swarm, studied the remaining clusters, and calculated their patterns. "The swarm can only be destroyed by targeting its core," he explained. "It is centralized, and its structure depends on a network of energy nodes. If we disrupt the network while attacking the core, it cannot rebuild itself. It will be finished." A silver-furred alien commander leaned forward, eyes glowing. "And the risk?" "The risk is total destruction if we fail," Aaron replied honestly. "But if we succeed, we ensure the galaxy survives for millennia. Humanity once sealed it, but only a human can coordinate the final strike. The fleet moved into position with precision. Ships formed rings, each species performing tasks they excelled at. Aaron oversaw the operation from the Heritage vessel, issuing commands and adjustments in real time. The swarm sensed their approach, reacting violently, energy tendrils lashing out, consuming asteroids and empty ships in its fury. The galaxy seemed to tremble at its presence. Yet Aaron remained calm. 15,000 years of stasis could not erase the instincts of a human leader. He had studied, prepared, and planned for this moment. As the fleet engaged, Aaron activated the Heritage vessel's core system, the advanced technology humans had left behind. The ship hummed with life, energy flowing through it, as if it remembered its original masters. Weapons aligned automatically, shields reinforced with energy channels, and navigation adjusted with instinctive precision. The ship itself seemed alive, guiding him in ways he could not fully explain. He realized then that the vessel was not just a machine. It was a relic of human ingenuity, a guardian designed to awaken alongside its master. The battle began in earnest. The swarm surged forward, massive energy waves pulsing outward. Alien ships darted through the void, luring clusters into traps that Aaron had carefully calculated. The swarm responded quickly, adjusting its formations. But Aaron's strategy anticipated each movement. It was a deadly game of precision and prediction. Ships were lost, and explosions lit the darkness, but the fleet held. Aaron focused on the energy nodes. They pulsed with power, interconnected like a web of lightning. He issued coordinated commands, and the fleet concentrated fire on the key points. The nodes flared, struggling to maintain integrity. Aaron guided the Heritage vessel closer to the central cluster, its weapons arrayed for the final strike. The swarm surged around them, energy tendrils wrapping and striking. But Aaron remained focused, issuing corrections and orders in real time. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy erupted from the swarm, forcing ships back and threatening to tear the formation apart. Alarms blared across the fleet. Aaron's fingers moved swiftly across the console, adjusting shields and firing sequences, maintaining control as the Heritage vessel absorbed the brunt of the attack. He felt the ship respond to his touch, moving instinctively to counter the swarm's energy. It was almost as if the ship knew him, trusted him, and shared his determination to succeed. Hours passed. The energy nodes weakened, one after another, until only the core remained. Aaron took a deep breath. "This is it," he said. Voice steady. "Concentrate fire on the core. We end this now." The fleet responded. Every ship focused on the central target. Energy blasts, synchronized perfectly, struck the core from every angle. The swarm thrashed violently, but it could not withstand the coordinated assault. Aaron guided the Heritage vessel to the heart of the swarm, channels of energy converging for the final strike. A brilliant flash erupted across the void. The core shattered, releasing an immense pulse that rippled through the remaining clusters. The swarm fractured, disintegrating into harmless energy particles that drifted into space. Silence followed, profound and absolute. The galaxy was still. The threat was gone. The alien commanders cheered, their voices echoing across the bridge. Ships maintained formation, scanning the remnants, confirming that the swarm was destroyed. Aaron allowed himself a moment to exhale. The weight of responsibility lifted slightly. Humanity's legacy had been proven. The galaxy had survived, and it was because one human had awakened to lead. As calm returned, Aaron turned once more to the ship's archives. There, he found a final message, hidden deeper than any other. It was from the humans themselves, recorded thousands of years ago before their disappearance. "To the one who awakens," the message said, "we have ascended beyond physical form. Humanity sought not immortality in flesh, but a lasting influence across the stars. We left you this galaxy to nurture, to guide, and to defend." The hollow swarm was one threat. Many others may follow. We trust in your humanity, in your courage, and in your ability to unite those who remain. You are the bridge between what was and what may become. Lead well, and remember that humanity's spirit endures in every action you take. Aaron felt a mix of awe and sorrow. His species had not vanished in failure or defeat, they had transcended. Yet in their absence, they had left behind a galaxy shaped by their wisdom and morality. They had entrusted him to continue their legacy. The knowledge brought him both comfort and a renewed sense of purpose. He was not alone, for the memory of his species, their strategies, and their values lived in him. He addressed the alien commanders, his voice firm. The galaxy is safe. For now. Humanity has shown us that strength comes not from domination, but from unity, foresight, and courage. The swarm is gone, but there are others who may threaten this peace. We must remain vigilant. Together, we will protect what has been built, not as separate species, but as one united civilization. The alien leaders nodded, understanding the truth in his words. They looked to him not as a ruler, but as a guide, a human who had awakened after millennia to ensure the galaxy survived. It was a role he accepted quietly, knowing that it was both a duty and an honor. In the weeks that followed, Aaron oversaw the reconstruction of systems damaged by the swarm. Colonies were restored, trade routes reopened, and alliances strengthened. He trained the next generation of leaders, teaching them not just tactics, but the values that had guided humans across the stars: courage, wisdom, unity, and empathy. Every lesson reinforced the memory of humanity, ensuring that their influence would endure even if no humans remained in physical form. Aaron also continued to explore the mysteries of human technology. The heritage vessel contained systems far beyond what the alien species had ever seen. Some designed to protect, others to create, all infused with human ingenuity. He discovered devices capable of harnessing stellar energy, systems that could terraform planets, and mechanisms that preserved knowledge for thousands of years. Each discovery reminded him that humanity had planned for a future they would never physically inhabit, trusting that one day, a human would awaken to guide the galaxy. And yet, in quiet moments, Aaron wondered if humanity might one day return in some form. Perhaps some had evolved beyond recognition, or existed in a state he could not comprehend. The thought gave him hope. For now, he was the last human walking the stars, but he carried with him the values, intelligence, and spirit of a species that had shaped the galaxy and transcended it. One evening, standing on the observation deck, Aaron gazed at the stars. He felt the calm of space, the quiet that follows great struggle. The swarm was gone. The fleet was stronger, united under shared purpose and trust. Humanity's legacy had been honored. And though he was alone in his form, he was surrounded by life, history, and the enduring spirit of his people. He smiled faintly. The galaxy would not forget humans. Not now, not ever. As the heritage vessel moved forward, engines humming softly, Aaron Vale reflected on what had been achieved. He had awakened after 15,000 years, discovered the disappearance of his species, united alien civilizations, and defeated a threat that could have destroyed countless lives. He had proven that humanity's influence, wisdom, and courage could endure across millennia. He was not just a survivor. He was a custodian of a legacy, a symbol of hope, and the bridge between the past and the future. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of possibilities, challenges, and new adventures. And as Aaron guided the fleet onward, he knew that humanity's story was far from over. Not in the flesh, but in spirit, influence, and action. The galaxy had been tested, and it had endured, and humanity, through him, had reminded every species that even after thousands of years, their spirit could return to guide, inspire, and protect.